Beyond the Hype, a fashion lifestyle tech podcast. Presented by Stephanie Williams and Greg Lewis.
All right, so anyone listening is probably here because they want to know more about this FIFA Rivals game before it comes out.
Yeah, it seems like it's getting a lot of people talking for sure.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I think it's because it's kind of at the intersection of two huge things, right? You've got the biggest sport in the world, soccer, and then you have the whole world of Web3 and NFTs.
Right, and it's interesting because we've seen like individual athletes do the NFT thing.
Yeah.
But we haven't really seen like an organization like FIFA really go all in on this stuff.
Yeah, this is a big move for them for sure, especially since they just broke up with EA Sports back in 2022.
Yeah, you have to wonder if maybe they were already thinking about this whole Web3 thing back then.
Maybe. Yeah, it makes you think.
I mean, it's fascinating how they're kind of like taking a page from Mythical Games playbook.
Yeah.
You know, Mythical Games is the studio developing FIFA Rivals, and they already have that other game, NFL Rivals, that's doing really well.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a Web3 game too, right?
Yep, same kind of thing.
Huh. So for those of us who haven't been following that game, what's the connection between those two?
Well, they're both like free to play, you know, kind of arcadey sports games that you play on your phone.
Oh, okay. I see.
So perfect for like, you know, you have a few minutes, you want to get a quick game in, that kind of thing.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So free to play mobile arcade style, but what about like the actual gameplay? You know, what makes FIFA Rivals stand out?
Well, for one, it's all about like building up your own soccer club.
Okay.
So it's kind of like fantasy football, but like with actual matches that you play against other people in real time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you collect these player cards, you build your team, and then you try to outsmart your opponents on the field.
Okay. And that's where the Web3 element comes in, right? With the player cards.
Yeah.
Those are actually NFTs.
Exactly. So like instead of just having a regular digital image of a player, you actually own this unique asset, you know, that's verified on the blockchain. So it's like owning a one-of-a-kind trading card, but it's digital.
All right, so break this down for me a little bit more. I mean, I think I get the basic idea of NFTs, but how would they work in FIFA Rivals? Like specifically, what can you actually do with them?
Okay, so let's say you get an NFT of like a young striker who's really good, and as he starts doing well in real life, like scoring goals and stuff, the value of your NFT could actually go up, and then you can trade it, you know, for other valuable players or like in-game currency or even real money.
Wow.
If the game lets you do that, and it creates like this whole marketplace where, you know, the price of these digital things is always changing based on how players are doing in real life.
So it's almost like you're investing in a player's success, kind of.
Yeah, kind of like that.
That's wild.
Yeah, and because it's all on the blockchain, like the Mythos blockchain, everything is like verified. So, you know, you can't just copy these NFTs.
Right, yeah.
And like when you trade them, it's all secure and transparent.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's like a level of trust there.
Exactly.
Because of the blockchain. Okay.
Yeah, and they've also said that it's going to be an optional NFT model.
Oh, what does that mean?
So you can basically play the game, build your team, compete without ever having to mess with NFTs if you don't want to.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're not forced to buy into the whole Web3 thing.
Right, exactly. You can just enjoy it as a regular soccer game.
Oh, that's cool.
But if you do want to get into NFTs and like owning digital assets, that option is there.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. I guess it kind of makes it more accessible to more people.
Right, because some people are still a little hesitant about Web3 and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
But this way you can kind of ease into it.
Yeah, I like that approach. So potentially you could have millions of people playing this game.
Yeah.
And maybe some of them will get interested in Web3 because of it.
Right, exactly. And we're talking about soccer here. Like, there are billions of fans worldwide.
Yeah, it's huge.
So even if a small percentage of them start messing around with NFTs, that could be huge for the whole Web3 gaming world.
Yeah, it's like a gateway drug.
Yeah, kind of like it normalizes it a bit.
Right? Right, yeah. So it's exciting, but it's also a little like, oh man, are people going to be okay with this? You know?
Yeah, there are definitely some challenges.
Like, are they going to get it? Are they going to think it's a scam?
Right, there's still a lot of skepticism around Web3.
Yeah.
You know, some people think it's just a way to make a quick buck or that it's all just a bunch of scams. So I think FIFA and Mythical Games are going to have to be really careful about how they explain all this.
Yeah, transparency is going to be key.
Definitely. They need to be upfront about how NFTs work in the game and show people that they actually add value to the experience and make sure it's fair for everyone, you know, whether you buy NFTs or not.
Right. It can't feel like pay to win.
Exactly.
Or like people who spend more money are automatically going to win.
Yeah, it has to be balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a tough balance to strike, I would imagine.
Yeah, it is.
But then on top of all that, they've got competition, right? I mean, EA Sports and Konami are still making soccer games.
Yeah, they're not just going to disappear, right? They have huge budgets. They have these established franchises, they have a lot of loyal players.
Yeah, so FIFA Rivals is going to have to really bring it.
For sure, it's going to be a tough fight, for sure.
But FIFA has the name recognition, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like everyone knows FIFA.
Yeah, I mean, FIFA is soccer, so that's a big advantage.
Yeah.
But the question is, can they make a game that's actually good enough to compete with EA and Konami?
Right, and can they do all this, with Web3 and the NFT?
Deal with all the regulations and everything.
Right, because that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, for sure.
Lots to think about.
Definitely lots to think about. Okay, so let's talk more about the game itself, like the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, get into specifics. I want to hear it all.
Okay, so we know it's going to be on mobile and free to play and all that.
Right.
But what will actually playing it be like?
Yeah, and you were saying something earlier about it being arcade style.
Yeah. Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not going to be like a super realistic simulation like you see with those console and PC games.
Okay, so it's not like FIFA 24 or whatever.
No, not at all. It's more about like fast-paced action, quick matches, easy to pick up and play.
Also perfect for mobile.
Exactly. But there's still some depth to it.
Okay.
Like you still have to think about strategy, and especially when you're building your team and like choosing your players and all that.
Right. So talk to me about that, the team building side. How does that all work?
So you collect these player cards, which are NFTs, like we talked about, and you use them to create your squad.
Okay.
And there are a lot of different options and like ways to customize your team.
So it's not just about getting the best players, like the ones with the highest ratings.
No, it's much more nuanced than that. Like each player has their own unique attributes and skills.
Oh, okay.
So you have to think about how those all fit together, how they complement each other.
So you're saying like, if I like to play a fast counter-attacking style,
Yeah.
I might want to prioritize players with high speed and agility.
Exactly. And if you prefer a more possession-based style, where you keep the ball a lot,
Right.
then you'd want players who are good at passing and dribbling.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you have the whole NFT element, which
Okay.
means those attributes could change based on how the player's doing in real life.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a whole other layer of complexity.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about, actually. Like,
What?
I've heard about this dynamic attributes thing.
Yeah.
Where the stats on your cards can actually go up or down,
Right.
depending on how the player performs in real life. Is that true?
It's hard to say for sure because they haven't revealed all the details yet,
Okay.
but it definitely seems like something they're considering.
Man, that would be wild.
Yeah, imagine you have a card of like a young player
Right.
who nobody's really heard of yet, and then suddenly he explodes and becomes a star.
Yeah.
Your card would be super valuable.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and his attributes in the game would go way up too.
So it's like, it's connected to the real world.
Exactly. It's like this bridge between the digital world of the game and what's happening in real life.
Okay, so to get a better sense of all this,
Yeah.
it might be helpful to look at that other game that you mentioned, NFL Rivals.
Yeah, good point, because it's kind of like a preview of what FIFA Rivals could be.
Okay, so how does it work in NFL Rivals?
So in NFL Rivals, one of the coolest things is that there's this whole player-driven economy.
What does that mean?
So you can buy and sell and trade your NFT player cards with other players.
Oh, okay. So it's like its own little stock market, but for digital cards.
Yeah, exactly. And the prices of the cards go up and down
Right.
based on how well the players are doing and like how rare the cards are and stuff.
So it's like real economics, but in a game.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it makes the game much more engaging,
I bet.
because you're not just playing the matches, you're also like thinking about the market and, trying to make smart trades.
Right. And if you get lucky, and like
Yeah.
you said, you get a card of some rookie who ends up being amazing,
Yeah,
that card could be worth a fortune.
exactly. It adds a whole other level of excitement and strategy to the game.
Yeah, and it gives you a sense of ownership, too.
Right. It's like you're not just a player, you're like an owner or a general manager or something.
Okay, I like it. I'm starting to see the appeal of all this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But the thing is, they're going to have to be really careful with the balance. They have to make sure it's fair for everybody. Like,
Right.
just because someone spends a ton of money on NFTs
Yeah.
doesn't mean they should automatically win every game.
So how do you prevent that?
Well, they have to think about things like matchmaking,
Okay.
So you're playing against people who are at a similar skill level and have spent a similar amount of money.
Right. That makes sense.
Or maybe they could have like separate game modes
Okay.
for people who have NFTs and people who don't.
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah, there are a lot of different ways to approach it.
Okay, so balance is key.
Yeah, for sure. And then they also have to think about how to explain all this to people who aren't familiar with Web3.
Right, because not everyone is going to get it.
Exactly. And some people are going to be like, what is this scam?
Yeah.
So they're going to have to be really transparent.
Right.
And educate people about how NFTs work and why they're valuable.
It's a big task.
Yeah, it's a lot to juggle. But if they can do it right, it could be huge. This could be the game that really brings Web3 gaming into the mainstream.
Yeah, that would be pretty amazing.
It would. And it would also have a big impact on the whole esports world.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, think about it. This game is designed for competition.
Yeah.
You have real-time matches against other players, and then you add in the whole NFT thing, which adds another level of strategy and excitement.
Right.
It has all the ingredients to become a really big esport.
We've already seen how big competitive FIFA is.
Right, exactly. And this is on mobile, so it's even more accessible to people.
Yeah, true.
And imagine packed stadiums filled with people watching these FIFA Rivals matches.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it could be a whole new era of esports.
And it's global, right? Because soccer is everywhere.
Exactly. So you could have players from all over the world competing.
Man, this is getting me hyped.
Yeah, it's exciting, but it's also a little scary, because there are a lot of challenges.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about them all day.
Right, how do they make sure the economy of the game stays healthy in the long run?
Right.
How do they prevent inflation and make sure those NFTs keep their value?
Right.
It's a tough problem to solve.
Yeah, and then there's the whole regulation thing too.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
The rules around NFTs are still being figured out.
Exactly, and they're different in every country, so it's going to be a nightmare to navigate all that.
Yeah, this is a lot for FIFA and Mythical Games to take on.
It is, but, it's still early days for all this Web3 stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we're all still figuring it out.
Right, it's kind of like the Wild West out there.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's also what makes it so exciting.
Definitely, it feels like anything is possible.
Yeah.
It really does.
All right, well, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk more about the long-term implications of all this. How could this game change the way we think about sports and fandom? And what does it mean for the future of esports? Right, so we're back, and we've talked a lot about the specifics of the game, how it works, the NFTs, all that.
Yeah.
But now, I want to zoom out a bit.
Yeah.
Think bigger picture, think long term.
Okay.
What could this game actually mean for the future of sports and fandom and all that?
Yeah, that's the really interesting part. I think this could be a huge shift.
Okay, I like where this is going.
So right now, when you're a fan of a team or a player,
Yeah.
you can buy a jersey or a signed photo or whatever.
Right.
But what if you could actually own a piece of that team or player digitally?
You're talking about the NFTs again.
Yeah, but it's more than just a collectible, It's like having a real stake in the game.
Oh, I see.
You're not just a spectator anymore, you're a participant.
So instead of just watching my team play on TD, I'm managing my own team in the game.
Exactly, and you can make decisions, you can trade players, you can even make money.
Right, if my players do well in real life,
Yeah.
my NFTs become more valuable.
Yep, and that changes the whole dynamic of being a fan.
It's a lot more engaging.
Right, it's way more interactive, and I think that could have a big impact on the whole esports scene too.
Oh yeah, how so?
Well, think about it. FIFA's already huge in esports.
Right.
But this takes it to a whole new level because now you have this added layer of ownership and strategy with the NFTs.
Okay, yeah.
And it's on mobile, so potentially millions of people could get into it.
Right.
So imagine huge tournaments with people from all over the world competing for massive prizes.
And fans filling stadiums to watch.
Exactly. It could be wild.
That would be incredible. Okay, I'm sold.
Yeah.
But there are going to be challenges,
Right.
like we've been talking about.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So what are some of the long-term things that they're going to have to figure out?
Well, one of the biggest things is going to be the economy of the game. How do they make sure the market for these NFTs stays healthy?
Right.
How do they prevent inflation? How do they make sure these cars hold their value over time?
Yeah, those are tough questions.
They are. It's not easy. There are a lot of factors to consider.
So what can they do about it? What are some potential solutions?
Well, one thing they could do is limit the number of certain cards that are created.
Oh, okay. So scarcity.
Exactly. Make them more rare and therefore more valuable.
Right.
Or they could introduce something called a burning mechanism.
What's that?
So basically they destroy certain cards
Oh, wow.
to take them out of circulation, which again makes the remaining cards more valuable.
Okay, so it's all about finding that balance.
Exactly. You want a market that's active and exciting,
Right.
but you don't want it to crash and burn either.
Yeah, makes sense. And then what about the whole fairness thing?
Oh, right.
How do you make sure that people who spend a ton of money don't just automatically win?
Yeah, that's a big one, and there are a few ways they could approach it. Maybe they could have matchmaking that takes into account how much you've spent.
Okay, so you play against people who are at a similar level.
Right. Or maybe they could have separate game modes.
Oh, right. We talked about that.
Yeah, so one mode where NFTs are allowed and one mode where they're not.
Yeah, I can see that working.
So there are options, but it's definitely something they're going to have to think carefully about.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of experimenting and figuring things out that needs to happen.
Yeah, for sure. But that's what makes it so interesting, right? We're all kind of figuring this out together.
It's like the Wild West of gaming.
Exactly. And who knows what the future holds, but I think FIFA Rivals is a great example of how technology can really push the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, even though we have all these questions, I think it's a good thing because it means there's so much potential here. This could be a really big deal, not just for gaming, but for the whole world of sports and entertainment.
It could change everything.
Right. Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap things up here.
Okay, sounds good.
But this is definitely a conversation that we're going to be continuing, as the game gets closer to release and we learn more about it.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
So to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into FIFA Rivals.
Thanks, everyone.
Hopefully you learned some stuff and got excited about the future of gaming. And if you have any thoughts or questions, make sure to hit us up on social media.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
And until next time, keep exploring the world of Web3 and all the amazing things it has to offer.
Beyond the Hype, a fashion lifestyle tech podcast.